Hi, I'm Katie Green. I have a story for you. I first heard it from my friend Jay Goldspinner. The Peggy O'Donnell knit socks. She knit all kinds of socks. She knit thin socks, she knit thick socks, she knit short socks, long socks, she knit striped socks, she even knit argyle socks. And when Peggy O'Donnell had a whole sack full of socks, she took that sack, flung it over her shoulder, and went to the road to sell them. From town to town, house to house, she called out, "Socks for sale, I have socks for you." And people bought her socks. And often somebody would say, "Now, Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be coming in for a bite to eat?" Or when nighttime would come, someone might say, "Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be staying the night?" And that's the way Peggy O'Donnell's life went. But there was this one time when Peggy O'Donnell had gone from town to town, village to village, and not a soul was buying socks. She left the town, walked out on the road, and it started getting dark. Peggy O'Donnell looked around and she saw a blackfriar bush, and she said, "It looks like that bush is going to be my shelter tonight." And so she threw her sack of socks under the bush and she crawled under the bush. And just as she put her head down on that sack of socks and was ready to close her eyes, she saw a light up ahead. And she said, it wouldn't hurt to try just one more time. And so when Peggy O'Donnell reached that house and raised her hand to knock on the door, to her surprise, that door just opened all by itself. And there inside was an old lady sitting next to a fireplace. She turned and looked at Peggy and she said, "Well, Peggy O'Donnell, I've been waiting for you. Won't you be coming in and having a bite to eat?" Why, yes, ma'am," said Peggy O'Donnell. And so the two women went to sit at the table, and as they sat down, two bowls left the sideboard and floated across the room and settled down in front of them, along with two spoons. And then a delicious pot of stew came floating across the room, and an invisible hand ladled that soup into the two bowls. And Peggy O'Donnell ate, and it was delicious. And after the women ate, poof, the spoons and kettle and the bowls all just disappeared into thin air. And Peggy O'Donnell thought, that's a good way to clean house. And the old woman turned to Peggy O'Donnell and said, "Now, Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be spending the night?" And Peggy O'Donnell said, "Well, yes, ma'am, thank you." And she saw a nice bed of clean, fluffy straw covered by a colorful quilt. And as they sat in front of the fireplace on two rocking chairs, the old woman said to Peggy O'Donnell, "Now, Peggy O'Donnell, I must tell you, I spend my evening in three ways. The first thing I do is have my supper. The second thing I do is I sing some songs and listen to stories. And then the third part, I go to sleep. So, Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be singing a song?" "Ooh, I'm sorry, I don't know any songs." "Oh, you don't know any songs? So, well, all right. But Peggy O'Donnell, then be telling a story." I don't know any stories." "Peggy O'Donnell, you're telling me that you don't know any songs and you don't know any stories? And well, all I have to say about that is, out with you." And Peggy O'Donnell jumped up and she ran out of that strange house as fast as she could. Whew, she ran and ran until she looked up ahead and there were some more lights. And when she got closer, she saw that, those were fairy lights. And the wee folk were dancing. And they stopped dancing when they saw Peggy O'Donnell, and they looked up and said, "Peggy O'Donnell, we've been waiting for you. Won't you be dancing with us?" Now, you know there's only one thing you can do when the wee folk ask you to dance. You dance. And so Peggy O'Donnell danced with the wee folk. She danced and danced and danced until she could not dance any longer. And then she just sat right down. And as soon as she sat down, all of the wee folks sat down around her and looked at her smiling, until one of the wee folk said to her, Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be telling us a story? Peggy O'Donnell opened her mouth to say, but I don't know any stories, but what came out were the words, once upon a time, and a whole story followed it. And all of the wee folks sat there with wide, sparkling eyes and open faces. And Peggy O'Donnell told story after story. She told stories that she never knew she knew. Until another wee folk said to her, and now, Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be singing us a song? And she put her hands up and said, oh, no, I don't know any songs, but somebody, one of the wee folk, put a golden harp in her hand. And when she plucked a string and then another, Peggy O'Donnell started singing. And she sang song after song after song. Peggy O'Donnell sang songs that she never knew that she knew. And then one of the wee folk said to her, and now, Peggy O'Donnell, the king of the wee folk is coming, and he is going to make you his bride, and then you will stay with us forever and ever. And Peggy O'Donnell jumped up to her feet and she said, oh, no, I won't. And she ran away as fast as she could. She ran and ran and ran and whoof, don't you know, she landed right back at that old woman's house again. And the door opened. She went back in. I sat down in the rocking chair next to the old woman and she said, oh my goodness. I ran down the road and then I ran into the wee folk and they were dancing and they asked me to dance with them. So what could I do? I danced with them. I danced until I couldn't dance any longer at all. And then I sat down, and when I sat down, they sat down. And then one of the wee folks said, and Peggy O'Donnell, won't you be telling us a story? And I started to tell them, oh, I don't know any stories, but what happened was I started telling a story. And I told story after story. I told stories that I never even knew that I knew. And I told stories until another wee folk put a golden harp in my hand and said, sing us a song. And then I started singing song after song after song. I sang songs I never knew that I knew. And then one of the wee folk said to me, and now, Peggy O'Donnell, the king of the fairies is going to come and he will make you his wife and you can stay with us forever and ever. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to stay forever and ever. And I stood up and I ran away and I ran as fast as I could until I came right back here. And the old woman listened and said, now, Peggy O'Donnell, if you'd told me that story to start with, you never would have had to leave. So Peggy O'Donnell stayed the night on that soft straw. And when she opened her eyes in the morning, she was under the blackbriar bush. Oh my, oh my, oh my, she said, what a dream, what a dream, what a dream. And she crawled out from underneath the blackbriar bush and she pulled out her sack of socks, and under the sack of socks was a golden harp. Now, Peggy O'Donnell lived to be in her late 90s, and she always knit socks and sold them. And wherever she went, Peggy O'Donnell always had a song to sing and a story to tell. I know, because she told me that one. Peggy O'Donnell.